started about 3 years ago.
Almost 3 years ago.
Analida started teaching cooking classes at a local organic food market, Frankie and May's Fresh Grocer here in town. So she started teaching these classes, and about a week before the class, she would sit down at her computer and start typing up all the recipes, and she'd email them to the events director, and then he'd print them out and he'd hand them to the students. And I have a background in e-commerce. I already was pretty familiar with WordPress, so I thought, why are we sending these out and printing them? The students could lose them, they could spill things on them, they could burn them, whatever. Let's put it online. So that's where we got our start with the food blog. So we kind of kicked it off from there. Here we are. We launched in September of 2013. We publish one recipe per week. We're mobile friendly. We picked our domain. We have a logo. We're working on branding and all of that. So it's evolved, quite a bit from there. So.
Okay, so how do you start a blog? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to select a topic. And basically anything is game. It has to be something you're familiar with, something you're passionate about, something you know a lot about, maybe something that you want to do research about. But as far as topics are concerned, anything is fair game. The next thing that you do is select a domain. Maybe the domain that you want is something that's already taken. Luckily for us, with a name like Analida, really there wasn't that much out there that with that name, so we were pretty fortunate in that respect. So because what we want to do is ethnic food, it just made sense to call it Analida's Ethnic Food. The next thing would be to select a hosting plan. Now, when we started way back about 2 years ago, we went with a very cheap plan. We didn't have a lot of traffic, so it didn't make sense to spend a lot of money. Now, as our traffic has grown over the past year and a half, almost 2 years, we now have a dedicated server. And even so, it's in the whole scheme of things, it's really not that expensive. And he'll talk about terms.
If you're running a blog, you should have some sort of terms. And the guy from McDonald's, Illig, isn't here. He probably could explain this better. But you want to talk about that you're providing your site is just for informational purposes only. You're not responsible for any loss, damage, any kind of liability. That you're going to delete spam comments if those are left on your site. The FTC requires that you provide a disclosure if you're working with brands, if you're talking about a particular brand, if you're being compensated by that brand for that work. And then your blog content is copywritten. Also, you need a privacy policy. If you're going to be running any kind of advertising, you want to make sure that you're disclosing that you're going to put cookies, web beacons, those types of things that are built into the advertising models today. You need to be disclosing those. And if you're going to run any kind of Google advertising, you need to make sure you're linking to Google's advertising policy page as well. I'll crawl you for that and make sure that's there as well. And then policy, and then we formed an LLC, which gives us that extra layer of protection between us personally and what's going on in our blogging business.
Okay, so why blog? Why do you blog, or why do we blog? Basically, to get your message out. Everybody wants to state their opinion. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to have a voice, and basically that's why people blog, to share your expertise. Also to promote products. For example, we could be approached by someone to say, hey, we wanted to promote our new coffee or our new seasoning for this, that, or the other. Just make sure that whatever you do, whatever product you promote, that is niche specific. So if you're blogging about finance, you're not going to promote running shoes because it just doesn't make any sense. Also, to review a product. They might call, you might be contacted to say, hey, we are launching this new seasoning or this new energy drink. We're contacting bloggers so they can review it. And then that's your opportunity to do that. You can get paid in product, you can get paid money. But then again, it's a good venue. Your blog is a good venue to do these things. You can also blog to earn an income, and I'm going to go into that a little bit later. But definitely, that's a really good reason to blog.
Okay, so blogging has kind of evolved where you have companies that are putting out a corporate message in their marketing material, but then they may also want to connect with people more directly. So you have an audience that's reading your blog. In our case, it's recipes and some of the stories and the history of the culture. That's what we try to promote on our blog. So we have these connected readers, and then we can integrate a product with it. And as it turns out, Carlo's in the other room talking about Recap, Mason Jars, and we wanted to hear his, but we're talking at the same time. This is a blog post we did for Recap. They make them here in Erie, and then we made the Spanish drink recipe, horchata, which is it's kind of a rice, almond, milk type refreshing
cinnamon
drink.
and sugar.
So we showed an application here, how we apply and use their product for our message and how we can use their product, and we've had a good time working with Recap on that.
Okay, so what are the key elements to a good blog? What makes a blog good? First of all, you need to establish a personal brand. And in our case, my picture and the logo for Analida's Ethnic Spoon, that is my personal brand. And it has to be strong so it can communicate something to your readers. Our brand spans across all our social media. So Facebook, Twitter, Google+, did I leave anything out?
Pinterest.
Oh, Pinterest,
Yumly.
Yumly. So, any time that you see Analida's Ethnic Spoon, you're going to see those two images in conjunction with each other. And also, it's important to have continuity. So, as I said, those two are going to appear everywhere, not just one place, the other in another place, because then it's disjointed. Another key element to a good blog is your expertise. As I said when I initially started this talk, you need to talk about something you know about, that you're deeply connected with. For me, it's food, it's culture, it's languages, it's history. I'm very passionate about those things. So it's something that I'm good about, and it's something that I want to share with everybody. Another key element to a good blog is quality content. And you can do that in a number of ways. Of course, you know, it's already assumed you're an expert at it, okay? So one thing that you really want to do when you are writing a blog post is you want to engage your reader. You want to draw them into your post. You want them to keep reading. And a couple of ways that you can do that is the tone that you use. With my blog, because it's educational in part, because it brings in culture, it brings in history, it brings in languages, origins of recipes, you know, kind of a host of things. I try to keep it light, but educational. I don't want to bore anybody and say, okay, I'm going to another blog because this is really boring. The language that you use, that kind of goes along with your tone. You don't want to. I don't want to make it sound academic because then it's, you know, it's boring. Use your own content. This is really important. And you would think that it's so basic, but it really isn't. In a lot of instances when I'm doing research, whether it's reputable internet sources or through books, a lot of the times I see material that has been copied verbatim from one to the other. I would be very upset because it takes me a long time to do the research, to write it, and to cross-reference, and just to have somebody go in and say, okay, I'm going to cut and paste, that's extremely unprofessional. I work at Mercyhurst, and so many times somebody will come into my office and say, can you believe this is plagiarized? The student hasn't done good work all term. This is fantastic, and apparently there are some tools that you can go in and type, and it comes up. So just use your own content. Proper grammar, of course, is part of being a professional blog. It's part of quality content. You can have a wonderful, wonderful article, but if there are spelling mistakes or grammar issues, then you kind of lose credibility. And
SEO.
SEO.
I'll talk about SEO. We use one plugin for SEO on our site. It's called WordPress SEO by Yoast. It's a WordPress-based plugin. Add it. It's free. It will allow you to set a focused keyword on your blog post, and it'll analyze on the fly all of your content, right? Measuring your keyword density as you're composing your post, you can be checking it against that keyword. And it will also generate all your site maps for you, automatically resubmit those to Google so that they can recrawl your site, your new content as you go. So it's a great plugin.
I have two questions about
Yes,
that. Do you
yes.
resubmit a sitemap every time you make a new post?
It does it automatically.
It does it
Yoast,
automatically.
yeah,
So that's what
Yoast
you
will
want to do.
recreate all the sitemaps for us
Uh-huh.
automatically. And even if we change something in the post,
Okay.
they'll resubmit a page as being refreshed.
Okay. My second question is, for SEO, coming into the food blogging space, that's a very crowded space. What have you done to try to rise above that or stand out?
Well, we do some recipe research and look at what recipes are popular, like ingredients and
Yes.
things. We research some of that. Sometimes we want to do things that are just different and fun and not really, nobody else has done. Obviously, probably every recipe we've done has already been posted online somewhere. But we're trying to put a different twist on it. We optimize all of our images with alt tags and just try to do it better. We're mobile optimized as well. So hopefully we're going to be ahead of some of the other players that aren't already, in that space.
Okay.
Mobile.
Thank you.
Photography. With a food blog, needless to say, good quality photography is key. People eat with their eyes. For me, I want people to look at that Guinness stew and say, "Oh my God, I could lick the screen. It looks so good." What was it? The one guy said he made a comment that I will buy. Okay, that I will buy.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much it. As far as photography, food photography is concerned, I like to think of it in 5 different terms. And this is actually like 5 design elements. They stand for harmony, emphasis, rhythm, balance, and scale. And these are critical to a photo. Harmony is how all those elements in the photography, in the picture go together. The emphasis, of course, that will be your focal point. Rhythm. Well, how do they flow? How does your eye flow when it's looking at it? It goes from one spot to the other, and that's exactly what you want the reader to see. Balance, well, is the composition balance? Is there too much on this side and too little on the other? Does it look off kilter? Does it look balanced? Is it pleasing to the eye? And then finally, the scale. Of course, all the components have, the scale has to match. And the example that I was giving him last night when we were doing the run-through was, okay, just, imagine if in that picture of the Guinness stew, over to the left, if instead of having a loaf of bread, I had like a little cornbread muffin. That will look really stupid. It wouldn't look good. It wouldn't be pleasing to the eye. No stock photography on a food blog. In other food blogs, it's acceptable. For other types of blogs, it's completely acceptable. But for food, you really should use your own photography. And if you happen to use somebody else's photography, say your friend took a picture and her picture is a lot better than yours, well, you can probably use her picture to say this picture was taken by, Susie Jones or. So infographics?
Yeah.
As far as infographics are concerned, basically an infographic, you're combining text and you're combining image. And as far as infographics are concerned, vertical is best. It's more eye-catching. It's sort of a combination between right brain and left brain. You're integrating both hemispheres. And they're great for Pinterest. That's what everybody recommends, that you should use a vertical image.
All right, social media. We use a plugin called Shareaholic on our site, and it allows us to customize this space above. We put it above and below. I clipped this as an example from our site. But above and below each post, we have these buttons, and you can customize it. So ours has Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, Yummy, stumble upon it, Twitter, but I could easily add Reddit or any of these other social buttons on there, allowing the user to easily share our content. So they can one click, they can push your content out onto those platforms. It works very, very well for that.
Okay. So we're going to talk about how to attract traffic and how to use social media Facebook. And one of the things that you want to do on Facebook with any blog is to engage your audience daily. And there's a number of ways that you can do that. You can ask questions. For example, with food, I could say, well, does anybody have a good recipe for red snapper or something like that? And you know, a lot of people will begin to chime in. Everybody wants to give their opinion. You can request advice. Does anybody know, I live in New York City, does anybody know where I can get good Thai food? You know, things like that. Of course, share, like, and comment as much as you can, because people will reciprocate. You want to talk about groups?
Oh, groups and interest lists. We belong to like a collaborative group on Facebook where it's a closed group. You ask to join, and then there are like-minded bloggers. So they're within our niche, and then we set up daily tasks where everyone shares a link to a post, and then we can like, comment, share. Someday it's Twitter, someday it's Pinterest. We drop a pin in, or we drop in a link to a Twitter. We retweet, we favorite. All those things go on in our group. So it's kind of this clandestine little group of people that are doing things where, you know, we're scratching each other's back on social media. But the end result is we have further reach because Facebook measures everything. They're going to look at how many likes, how many comments, how many shares you have. So that gives all your other posts further reach through your Facebook page. Interest lists are something where you can set up a individual news feed, if you will. If you have a particular interest, you can set up, anybody use interest lists on Facebook? No? If you have an interest, maybe it's, I don't know, windsurfing. You could gather different Facebook pages and just see those within an interest list. However, if you're bloggers and you set up your own private interest list, you can see everyone's blog content in the interest list. So we have this collaborative group again, which we all committed to like 10 minutes a day, 4 or 5 days a week. We can see everyone's content in that interest list. They're our friends, and there's about 15 or 20 of them. So we commit to 10, 15 minutes a day. We go and we comment, we like, we share on all their content, which then again gives further reach to all those blogs, to those posts within the Facebook platform.
Hashtags?
And again, we research hashtags. I like a site called Hashtagify. That's very good for researching. It gives you this bubble diagram. If I put in a hashtag, for example, we just did a post on grilling. So I'll do grilling, and I'll look at and see what else. Grill, weekend, question.
What was that website again?
Hashtagify.
Hashtagify.
Yeah, you Google it, Hashtagify. Let's see, we're going to do pork chops. All right, so we did grilled pork chops. So I'm going to look at all the hashtags and which ones have the biggest social rating, which conversations are the largest. It gives us all those different readouts.
Okay, so Pinterest. Well, do you guys use Pinterest? Yeah. Pinterest is very common. What we do for a blog, because, you know, it's ethnic food, we have multiple themed boards. So for, you know, like Moroccan food, we have one, you know, American, French, et cetera, and it helps us keep things, you know, organized. One of the practices with Pinterest is all of our recipes in our blog are on the first board on the left. Even though you know you think it's a duplication, but all of them are on that first board, and then we subdivide.
We'll show you those on the next slide.
Yeah, we have a slide that encompasses that. You can join group boards. You can search for group boards to join. We've been asked to join some group boards, and we try to keep it niche specific. It just keeps things a lot easier and simpler. Yeah.
This is a little bit off topic, but okay. So you have a Facebook page and
Yes.
a business Facebook page or
Yes.
a personal?
Fan-
No.
yeah,
So, but you can't connect your business page to your Pinterest. Like, so I do all our social media stats with Depop. When I try to go from my Pinterest page, it wants to go on my personal, not the business. Like, you know, I
Yeah.
can't connect them all, right?
Well,
you can connect
you can.
it depends on what platform you're trying to connect it to. Your personal Facebook page has to be the administrator of your Facebook page.
Yeah, I am, but
Right.
it, like, it automatically goes to my personal, then it seems like I have to share it again then on the page.
But if you're on your Pinterest page, would have the URL of your website, not your Facebook page.
Right.
So you'd want to have a website with the URL pointing from Pinterest to your website.
Okay.
That's how we have it set up.
Okay.
And if we get a chance, we can browse it and show
Yeah.
you. Okay, alt tags. I'll just explain something we do with alt tags. This is kind of cool with alt tags and rich pins. This is a blog post that we put up for Middle Eastern pistachio rosewater cookies. Okay, so when I embed this image on our site, I put in the alt tag text, Middle Eastern pistachio rosewater cookie, the pipe character, and then ethnicspoon.com. And if someone would come to our site and pin that, the alt tag actually travels with it on Pinterest, which gives you more search reach. So you definitely want to add alt tags to all your images, and then considering that they can go to Pinterest, Pinterest will pick that up and read it. Rich pins are something that Pinterest supports depending on the type of site you have. If you have a schema that they recognize, there's 6 recipe. They do like places, apps. Apps would be good for shelf scatter. Apps, article, products, and places. So if you are building content for that type of platform and you're using the right schema, Pinterest will read the schema and will give you that additional metadata on all your posts. So in our case, if I pin this recipe to Pinterest, then it's going to also then include all the ingredients right underneath the pin from Pinterest. So you'll see all of that, and that then becomes searchable on Pinterest. It's very cool. And then we also use a pin scheduler. We belong to some of these group boards, as we mentioned earlier. Some of the group boards have 1 million pins on them. People are pinning to them every day, all day. Some have 100,000, 50,000 users on them. So if you can imagine this board on Pinterest, and say a board on Pinterest, say this board here, food history, has 1 million pins on it, and I pin a pin there, and it's at the top. How long will it be at the top? Maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours later, it's 3 screens down. So we use a pin scheduler. We set up various boards. I can say, I want this board to pin 3 pins a day to these 17 other boards. And then I want you to do it again tomorrow. All in chronological order. So it's pinning and repinning and repinning. Constantly you set it and forget it, and it's repinning for you automatically to the group boards that you want to target. So that's how we're using our pin schedule. We're using a program called Board Booster for pin scheduling. So, and we've seen our Pinterest followers jump up about 20 to 30%.
A lot, yeah.
We're gaining followers. We're up to almost 2,000 followers on Pinterest.
Okay. Twitter? Well, the Twitter, of course, is a game of, you follow and you're followed. It's good practice to tweet every single post. I've even read that sometimes you should tweet it twice a day because perhaps the first time you tweeted it, this person saw it, but the other person that, who should be seeing it didn't see it. Follow others, of course, is the only way you're going to be followed. And one good practice is, for example, look for people that are in your niche and see who they're following or who's following them, and then you want to follow those people. And then hopefully they'll follow you back.
You ever do that on Twitter? Find someone who's followed you, then click their follower list, and you can see all their followers, and you can follow them. It displays it right on the screen.
When you have a blog, your Twitter handle should be the same or almost the same as your blog. So people can identify, or they can link those two things together. Once again, on Twitter, use hashtags for maximum visibility. And there's also a program called Tweetbee. And what Tweetbee is going to allow you to flush out the people that you followed but didn't follow you back. So you're basically creating space in your Twitter account.
It's a free service too, works really well. Okay, Social Bro. Anybody use Social Bro? No? If you connect, Social Bro is a free service. They also have a paid. I use the free one. This will tell you when to tweet. You connect Social Bro to your Twitter account, and it'll tell you with a heat map when all your followers are online. So we have about, I don't know, right now we have about 1,500 Twitter followers. This tells us when we should tweet. Day and hour.
Is there a program like that for other social media outlets like Facebook?
I only connected this to Twitter. It might do other ones as well. We went to a blogging conference about 3 weeks ago, and we picked this up there, and I've only been using it for a short time, but it's really cool.
great offer.
Yeah.
Basically,
It's-
insights will give you some of that information.
Yeah, we went to a conference last year and I have some, but I mean, I have something like that.
Yeah, I have not connected to any other social platforms, but this so far seems pretty cool. And then we also use Buffer to schedule tweets, the Buffer platform, and I use Hootsuite as well. I like Buffer though, it's easier and it adds photos. Hootsuite, you have to use the pay version to get a photo. If I grab a photo off our site and if I hit tweet and schedule it, I only get a text tweet out of Hootsuite. But if I do it with Buffer, I get this picture, you know, and which is very nice. And then I get all the link, the short links and all that. All right.
Okay, so one way to, we're still talking about increasing traffic. One way to increase your traffic is to connect with other bloggers. Comment on their blogs. People like that. You know, it's like, you know, girls, hey, that's a really nice shirt. It's like, oh, well, thank you. So it's kind of like a virtual compliment of sorts.
We participate in link parties where other bloggers will set up a page, a post where you can go and you can share your content and then you comment on all of theirs. And it shows up like a thumbnail list with hundreds of posts and titles and images. And you can connect with other bloggers that way, look at what they're doing, you're sharing recipes, DIY, crafts, whatever the case may be, whatever's in your niche. You can find link parties for your niche for that area. We do about 2 to 3 link parties every day. It's a lot. Reach out to the bloggers.
Reach out to other bloggers, and this can be in a number of ways. You know, asking a question, asking for advice, any number of things. But it's a good way to connect with other people.
That's cool.
And then compliments, of course. Hey, I love your blog. I really like the recipe for such and such and such. You know, good job. And then, you know, what will happen is, you know, they'll do the same for you. They'll come to their site and compliment you as well.
So I just want to touch on a couple high-level things that we use Google Analytics for. You know, where's our traffic coming from? So if you go into Google Analytics, we like to look at this periodically. About once a month, I'll go in, I'll click on acquisition, then I'll look at source medium, and I'll see where our efforts have been paying off and where we're seeing some traffic coming in from, and what social platforms are driving traffic into our site. Lately, this is an old one, but lately StumbleUpon has been doing pretty well for us, driving us a lot of traffic, because we share a lot of stuff on StumbleUpon. So now that we know where they're coming from, we want to know what are they doing when they get to our site. So I've highlighted a couple of these. So if I go into analytics and I click on behavior, I look at all pages, I can drill down the page that they're on, and then within the page, I can do the source and medium, which tells me where they came from to that page. So just, again, kind of a high-level overview of what's driving traffic in from what platform, into what page, gives you that breakdown.
Oh, sorry.
And then Webmaster Tools, I mentioned earlier, sitemaps. This is where you would submit your sitemap so Google can crawl your website. But one interesting thing I learned about Webmaster Tools is, and I don't know how many people use this, but if you go in, you can look at search queries. So you can click on search traffic, search queries, and you can actually look at what people searched for on your site. And while they're looking at what they searched for, how are we doing?
So the 2-minute
Checking this
warning.
out?
No, we're like at a minute, because they're already starting, and
The final? They're doing
The final remarks?
wrap up over there, or?
no, he's done, he's gone.
Carlo's done? Oh,
Okay.
Well, we only have a couple more. You guys good?
We have like 4 slides. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
Like half a minute.
Webmaster Tools, it'll show you what they searched for, what their impressions were, what they clicked on, and then they click-through rate, and then what our position is. So I can look at posts to see, well, how many clicks did I get on that post? Was my click-through rate low? Maybe I need to adjust something in my meta tags and what's showing up on a search. It gives me an idea. I can quickly analyze this, look at sorted different columns, and take a look at all that.
Okay, so how to monetize your blog. There are multiple ways. There's affiliate marketing. Certainly, we heard about that this morning. Ad networks. We belong to a few ad networks. We have ads on our site, and they usually pay per 1,000 impressions.
So do you promote products that you affiliate market for then? Is that what you're doing?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've done some of that, yes.
Amazon store, of course. Sponsored post. I'm going to touch up on that in just a couple of minutes. You can develop a product, whatever it might be. Create an Etsy store, and this is something that we're talking about right now. It's in the works. Sponsor posts, basically you have a media company, you have the blogger, and then you have the consumer. So the corporation. The corporation contacts, the media company, and then they hire out the bloggers. And basically, what you produce a sponsored post. We just did one for Nestle. It was about they wanted something for summer with the summer theme, and you had to use Nescafe, their instant coffee. I'm a coffee drinker. I would never drink instant coffee, but I thought, for $200, why not? Let's give it a shot. So, I developed a recipe, and then you develop a story around the recipe, and that's exactly what they want to hear. That's one we did around Super Bowl Sunday for Del Monte. They wanted a 2-minute salsa using their mangoes. So there's a host of things that you can do, and again, keep it niche specific. You can be a brand ambassador, and just make sure that you're comfortable with that product and with the brand. Because remember, it's going to go on your blog, and people are going to associate that with you. And it also has to fit in, as I said, with your brand image and your niche.
We've hit the dessert course, so.
Yeah. And ebook is something that we're currently working on. There's apparently a program that will turn all your blog posts into an ebook. I was reading about it. So it's something that we definitely want to do, and perhaps use it as an incentive to increase email subscribers